The food service, hospitality, and retail industries are evolving in ways you've never heard of until now. Hosted by global industry technovator Rob Grimes and powered by the IFBTA, TechBytes is your go-to podcast, putting technology innovation and trends on the menu.
Well, here we are for another edition of TechBytes by the IFBTA. And I'm really thrilled because I don't get to do this all the time, and I haven't gotten out to chapter meetings as I'm supposed to do. But I'm really pleased to be joined by Dwight Rowe, who is the Vice President of Information Technology at Duffy's Sports Grill in Orlando, Florida, or Lakewood. Which one is it?
Lakewood, Florida.
In Lakewood, Florida. But also, Dwight is one of our chairs for the Orlando chapter. And so welcome to TechBytes.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's definitely an honor to be here, on your program.
Well, it's our program, first of all, not mine.
It's
the IFBTA's, and it's an honor for us to have you on here and have the conversation because, it's so important what people are doing at the different chapters and the conversations and things. So, let's just start out with, I'm not so sure that everybody, knows who Duffy's is. So why don't we just start there?
Okay. So Duffy's been around since 1984. When we started out with 4 menu items within Park Lake in Florida, and 4 menu items, and today we're up to 80 items and also up to 28 locations all over South Florida. Now,
all right, so wait, hang on a second. 4 items.
Yes.
To me, that sounds like a pop-up restaurant or something. I mean, or maybe it's a stall somewhere. I mean, how do you start with 4 items?
Well, you go through and you think about it, right? You can look at it as you keep things very simple, right? So you look at serving a burger as an example, or wings as an example, and that's your basis, right? You start with that, and then you kind of work your way up. You perfect that, in which Duffy's has done, and here we are many years later, from 1984 to now. With 28 location and still striving, still going strong with a very good customer base.
Well, I'm sure that, a lot of things have changed in 28 years in there. And so I'm sure there's a lot of story. Of course, if I think about a sports bar and I think of 4 items, that would be like 4 different types of beer. I wouldn't even have to get to that. But if I have to, I guess I'd be doing chicken wings, hamburger, pizza, and hot dogs.
Hey, but that's very good. See, but the same way as how you listed those items, it's kind of like the same thing that we have done, right? We have gone through, we found what customers like, and we actually started out with those items, and we made a very good business out of it.
So what is the specialty item that people come to Duffy's for?
Our sauce is one of the big things, our Duffy sauce. Wings, I would say, is definitely big. Our burgers, half pound, juicy burgers, really, really good. And then the wings, the ribs. Ribs is like something that falls off the bone, the way we actually prepare that. And on top of it, too, with the ingredients that we use locally sourced ingredients that are high quality. We don't just select any vendor to be part of our business process.
So, they have those commercials on TV where you like a fan of Duffy's before, and this became like sort of like the ultimate kind of job here that you got to, participate in there, or because you came from retail, so, which is a whole different thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, with when you think about it, because with retail, I've always been in the restaurant space and retail, because when I was working at another concept, there was retail to it, but also restaurant was a combination, right? So having that background and also coming to Duffy's has make me even more equipped, to address all the different things that we needed to take it to like the next level, right?
So you've been there 5 years. 5 years?
5 years plus. So February will make it 6 years.
6 years. So if I like look at my calendar here and I think about like the last 6 years, okay, so you must have joined at an interesting time.
Yes, I did. This was like right February, right at COVID 2020, right around that time when the country was getting ready to shut down through the pandemic, and it was not an easy thing, and being hired right away, and then it being it was a state mandate where we had to go in and close for like 3 months, and then luckily we were able to overcome that process. So yeah, it was definitely some interesting times then.
So I mean, people really don't talk too much about the COVID period anymore. But when you take a job like right before, like
Hmm.
that was and you're running the IT, and we
Hmm.
know that sort of IT sort of maybe saved, a lot of restaurant groups. Was Duffy's prepared, when you walked in, or was it really an unexpected thing and it wasn't on the list of to-dos that you thought you were going to be doing?
Well, I don't think anybody was prepared for COVID, right? But in the restaurant space, right? Things are thrown at us, right? And we do what we have to do to make it happen, right? We call it like we troubleshoot, right? It's just the perfect term for in the restaurant. You're not waiting; things just happen, and you actually address it. You problem solve, and that's what we did. We got a mandate, and we had to make certain that our locations, were closed when we needed to, and then we were open when
But
we
did
needed
they
to.
already have online ordering and takeout and delivery and things like that in advance?
In advance, it was we had like the online ordering, and then as far as like with the delivery, it wasn't like a big thing, a big push, and it wasn't like that with a lot of companies. But once we have actually gotten to that with the pandemic itself, we had to shift and make certain that we get on board, right? With all the different platforms that were out there, and we were able to get up to speed very quickly.
Well, that's good because not everybody had those kind of platforms in place. So if we go past COVID, which is really a better subject here, and we talk about the last few years, what have your priorities been, in the last few years?
So within the last few years, because we were on premise with our system, a lot of it, and at the time there were outages and things like that when it came to like power and so forth. We had to pretty much figure out a way to make certain that business continuity, right? So what we have actually done was migrated all our on-premise server to the cloud. And I know back in the days, a lot of um, a lot of businesses were completely afraid of going to the cloud because of the sensitivity of the information, which is rightfully so because you're talking if you have a secret sauce or something like what Duffy's
Wait,
has
you guys
before.
have secret sauce.
We have
You said
definitely
that's one of your
secret sauce.
specialties.
You got to come in and visit us when you're in Florida. You got to
So I
visit
may be
us
in
and check it
Florida
out.
on Monday.
You are.
I I'll know that tomorrow, but it would be Miami. So I'm trying to figure out.
Come on in. Absolutely. We invite you. Open arms.
It's it.
Definitely make it in. Let me know when you're there.
You don't have a location in Miami Airport, do you?
We do not. The closest one it's on the Intercoastal, which is it's a beautiful location. You will love it there.
I will let you know. Well, I'll know that tomorrow. Well, I figure it's holiday season, but somebody needs me to go take a look at something. So coincidentally, I might actually be there, and a burger with special sauce could be on the menu, for that. So so we're talking about so the funny thing about the conversation, I don't know if this has come up at a recent chapter meeting because you had one, I think, post the big AWS outage.
Hmm.
It was either right before or right after. I'm not sure my timing, but I think it was right after. Well, I think some people might be rethinking the whole strategy of cloud-based on-prem, and then how do they go ahead and they bridge the two because we're not going to go back from being out on the cloud. But I think that really opened up eyes to some of the other pieces.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you can go in um, with all the years that I've been working in the technology space, right? You have backups, right? You're always thinking about backups. And the other thing that you're always thinking about is, you say Murphy is always around the corner, right? Because you could have that backup and that backup solution if it hasn't been tested and tried on a regular basis, then it doesn't do you any good, right? So to us, we also have to have the backup to the backup, right? If something occurs, what happens, right? Our biggest thing, especially like in the restaurant space, is to make certain that if a customer, as long as we have light and the kitchen is operational and stuff like that, we want to make certain that we're able to service our customers without any problem. And, you know, even though we go through and we say, hey, you want to have the backup in place, at the end of the day, you still got to know how to take an order for a customer, right? That's the key, right? So we always try to make certain that these procedures are also still in place, as a backup to that backup option.
Well, there's so many changes going on, though, too. It's very hard to figure out where they're at. And, your restaurant group with 28 units is like right in a sweet spot, of a group that's growing.
Hmm.
But you're right in that sweet spot. I guess you're lucky that you're all within Florida,
Hmm.
because that creates other challenges when people are outside of it. Uh, do you do franchising or is it all corporate?
It's all corporate.
Well,
All
that makes
corporate.
your life easy then also. You
It,
must
it,
have an
it
easy job,
certainly
right?
does.
You
It
get to fly
certainly
out
does.
burger sauce and ribs. I got that. And you have all corporate units, so that's a good thing. So you control your own destiny here. Um, but there certainly are a lot of challenges too with in your environment. It occurs to me that you're a sports bar, so that also implies lots of TV screens and a lot of audio visual as well. So you've got to marry the content on that too.
Absolutely. This time of the year, we look forward to it, inviting in our guests. It's lovely, and then also having customers coming from out of town, getting the experience with over 80 screens that there's not a bad seat in the house at all at any of the location. Multiple games that are on, and then also we're accommodating for sure to our customers. When a game is playing, they will say, hey, can you switch to, where we're sitting to this, and we're able to make certain, because at the end of the day it's customer satisfaction. We want to make sure that they have a good time, they're coming out, they're leaving the comfort of their home, and we want Duffy's to be like their second home, right?
So are you like the audio visual expert, like to all your friends and stuff when they ask you like what kind of screen should they get, or what they should go ahead and put in their sound system?
Yeah, they'll ask questions, but I usually what I say, I only mess with computers, but I will help them out wherever I can, or I might actually lead them, to someone that's really in the service in that space professionally.
I think that one of the opportunities,
Hmm.
with the sports bars, because I've been watching some of these units that are doing, the immersive technologies, where, really you bring the game like right in front of you. And I think, as people go to the Sphere in Las Vegas and they do
Hmm.
things like that, that you're going to start seeing, restaurants, even like Duffy's, that are going to transition themselves to have more of a total immersive experience, not
Hmm.
just the regular screens that are there, but
Hmm.
actually being part of the game. Is that something that you guys think may be part of the future or that you take a look at?
It's something that we can definitely look at, because for us, we always look at ways that we can bring information to customers, and also, expand on the brand, right? The more things that you're doing that's like creative, people, it piques people's interest. So we always want to make certain whatever we're doing, it actually fits in, the Duffy's culture.
Well, listen, I want to transition us and sort of look towards the new year because we're here, towards the end of the year. So why don't we just take a quick break? And I'm having a conversation with Dwight Rowe, who is the Vice President of Information Technology at Duffy Sports Bar at Sports Grill, but there is a bar. And we'll be right back after this break.
With the rapid expansion of technology in the food and beverage industries, finding the right supplier can become overwhelming and complicated. To simplify this process, the IFBTA created Exchange. Exchange is a powerful search tool where users can easily narrow down their technology search and refine results by application type, geography served, department, and more. Browse resources and learn more about the industry's technology suppliers at exchange.ifbta.org. Now, back to the show.
So, welcome back. And I'm having a conversation today, a TechBytes conversation with our chapter chair of the Orlando chapter of the IFBTA, which is a special thing for me. You know, if I can't get out to meet you in person, we might as well meet digitally here. But with Dwight Rowe, who's the Vice President of Information Technology at Duffy Sports Grill. I keep saying bar, but I somehow have got that one straight. But, so we were talking really about the background and the things that you're doing. But, you are getting out in the industry. You talk to a lot of people. You have the chapter meetings, and you certainly have the discussion. So as we're starting to think about next year, what maybe we should do between us is sort of have a quick little wrap of 25, but talk about maybe 26. So what were the key subjects that people were talking about when you were having your meetings this past year?
So the key things, of course, AI is
Don't
big
say it.
on everybody. I
Say
know
that.
AI is big on everybody's mind, and I know they're different meaning. Everybody looks at AI a little bit differently, right? So that was part of it. Quantum computing is also another big thing that comes up. And now the big talk that I've heard in the last chapter is Coinbase, right? Because
Oh, really?
that's coming as well, because that's also going to impact the restaurant industry in one shape or another.
So are there some key words or key themes that you hear people talking about as they're looking towards next year? I mean, that may be one, but are there some
Yes.
other themes that you think will be the discussion topics of, your first quarter meeting, and when people are saying here are the projects and initiatives they're looking at? And by the way, can be the suppliers too, not just the operator side.
Sure. Well, the big thing that I would say that they're talking about is how they leverage it in their existing environment. How can they take advantage of it? Because you hear of like Chat GPT and Copilot and so forth, and all the different security implications that are surrounding those areas. And a lot of people, they're on the fence, and they're also trying to make certain when they do deploy these solutions, it's actually deploy with the proper intent and also end results that they want to achieve.
So how do you feel, both personally and professionally, that you are taking advantage of those types of technologies?
It's great because what it does, it helps simplify your life. It's the certain things that you would want it to automate certain tasks for you, make certain suggestions as well. If, as an example, if you're writing an email, you could actually address it a certain way, and it's like another process that you wouldn't have to think about. So your day-to-day life, those are the things that I look at where it will help.
Yeah, I mean, I have started doing that almost in everything that I do. I really, I'm always amazed at, what comes out. I'm like, why didn't I think of that? Right. But
Yeah.
I'm trying to I haven't come up with the right marketing term yet for this, but I'm trying to come up with, I don't know, I don't want to call it AI, but some sort of, thinking forward, so that the second I have a question, everybody used to say, just Google it, right?
Right.
Well, but what they did was they were just Googling it for information, how do I find this? What's near me, but they weren't really Googling it for the questions, right? So now it's embedded.
Hmm.
So do you find that your employees, your managers, your management, your leadership, do they also embrace it, or are people really scratching their head and saying, okay, I know this is there, but they're not fully engaged?
I would say not fully engaged at the moment, but I believe they're using it like maybe like at home type of thing, maybe on their own devices. But as far as for the business environment yet, it's not there. And I think, from a corporate level, or from the head office, those are things that we will help to drive, as
Mhm.
to how they use it in their day-to-day operation.
So do you have a preferred partner in this? Because you
We're
mentioned
looking. We're looking. Yeah, we're definitely looking. You have Copilot that's out there. We want to make certain whatever information we actually present, it's the information that we want to get out there, and make certain rails are put in place, guardrails are put in place, so it doesn't make us completely vulnerable to, because when it comes to AI, once you put that information out there, it's pretty much out there, right? So those are things that we're looking at and just making certain we're doing it responsibly.
But there's always models like that you could look at because I find that you can look historically. I mean, look at how many restaurant companies or retail companies or hotel companies, look at Yelp reviews and they look at other things that are out there. And, there's been this question of who owns those data, who owns that data, who owns that review. If I write a review, I have an opinion. And
Right.
I've known some restaurant companies that have been talking about, we need to own it, keep it within our sphere,
Hmm.
because, you sign your life away when you sign up to do one of these things and it's out there I'm still getting reviews from something I did 6 years ago and they tell me how many people have been reading. And I'm like, what? That car dealership, by the way, is not very happy about that, I'm sure, because it wasn't a great one. But that is also one of the challenges that are out there. But I think we also are going to come around to who owns the data and what do we share and how do we have our special sauce, of how we do business or our own voice, which gets a little complicated in there, both in how you express yourself and you use the tool, but also how people are using it to find you.
Yeah, and the information. It's kind of like you technology. Technology is here to be used as a tool for us, right? Because the stuff that I do today, I I'm passionate about it. I love it because, when if I have like a certain situation where someone is experiencing a problem, and whatever problem they have was so manual to the point where we could get it to the point where it's automated and give them time back. That to me is like saying, hey, we're applying the tool the right way because you're using it in that kind of format. As far as with having that data out there um, in the environment, and people have access to that, how do you even control that, right? Because you could go in and put in, create a contract between whoever you're sharing that data with. Let's just look at Amazon as an example, right? A lot of companies, all that information, it's online, right? It's available in the cloud.
Right.
What guardrails that we have in place. Of course, you're going to secure the data as much as possible, but then the comfort of having that information like on premise, that
Well, there is
that's
no
something of the
guarantee.
past that doesn't
And there's
exist
no
anymore.
guarantee, on any of this. We should learn our lessons on the data and the guardrails and things as it related to payment processing and credit cards. I mean, this isn't anything new,
Right.
that's out there. There's just a lot more data available. We're constantly feeding it, and we forget, how much there is. One insight you said something that makes me just sort of think about this. That what was the initial complaint? When people, and it is the complaint when people talk about AI and they talk about these things, they say, "Oh, it's going to take over. They're going to take away our jobs." But we're in a hospitality industry, and maybe the way I see it is we've always had some employment issues here. It makes
Mhm.
it easier for somebody who speaks a different language or somebody who works in a different industry to actually be trained, get support, in the jobs that we do.
I totally I am in agreement with your entire statement there because yes, there's that fear. I remember going to one of the conferences and just listening to students that are getting ready to leave colleges, right? And their biggest fear was, with AI coming out, and then whatever they went to school to study for, it was it's obsolete to them. But the way I look at it, it's a matter of actually using whatever they've gone to school for, they went to school for. It would be a matter of just applying those knowledge with the technology itself, AI. It's not going to replace them. It's just a matter of like repurposing them for something else where they can actually apply themselves really more effectively because
Well,
AI
people always
is
get
talking about efficiency, right?
Well, people always get into that conversation about art and they'll sit there and they'll go digital art, if it's produced that way, is it really original or not? Well, somebody actually has to give it the theme, give it the thought, give it the
Absolutely.
emotion, the passion. You said the word passion earlier, right?
Hmm.
The passion to want to create something, and the idea of, spontaneous creation and combustion here probably isn't happening because you got to give it the thought and direct it the same way with your voice as a restaurant and as a company. You have a culture, you have a voice, and just because you're using a tool doesn't mean that you don't have your heart in it.
I agree. Listen, I remember starting out with technology because it was, as human beings, we resist change. This is a change, right? It's by nature. This is what we're known for. But I recall when Windows just came out, back in the days, and you didn't have a mouse. All you had was just a keyboard. And there was this big fear of, hey, I got to use something else. It's going to complicate my life. And the users that were actually hesitant on, they were like really voicing their opinion in the process of doing the rollout,
Right.
and they were the one that was actually championing, hey, this is great, this is awesome, why didn't we do this a long time ago? So it's our initial response to any kind of changes is to resist that, and then once we understand that and we're able to go about like saying, okay, let me understand why you do not like this, and
Mhm.
discuss it, that gets everyone over that
Yeah,
hump,
by the
that
way,
initial hump.
it doesn't change because, I've seen a lot in our industry. Your example's, a good one, not necessarily within the industry, but I remember trying to get, this will date me, but, trying to get people to go from, guest checks to checklists to
Mhm.
not print a chit in the kitchen to a kitchen display,
Mhm.
and talk about trying to get to handhelds. How long did that take,
Mhm.
in the US, while other parts of the world were doing handhelds all along? So, we can point to it every step of the way that somebody will sit there and go, I don't want to make that change. It's going to change my job, and it just, it's really a whole different ball game, from how they look at it. So, you know, uh, you have I asked you at the very beginning, about your initiatives from this past year. So, what are
Mhm.
your initiatives going forward for next year?
So as you're talking it with handhelds, we're in the process of deploying handhelds in our environment. And of course, yes, you do have some challenges, the same thing as I mentioned, like with changes, right? And we understand what those are. And once the, our staff is able to see all the different things that it's doing, things are getting to the kitchen much faster. It's turning the table much quicker as well. The customers, they're happy. And also, happy customers also reward the servers by leaving a greater, size tip, right? So everybody is
Ah, all the
benefiting
same
from
bullet
that
points.
sequence.
I heard these bullet points years ago on other things, but greater station size, bigger tip, know when
Hmm.
things are out, upselling, there's all kinds of,
Absolutely.
and it's funny, but I think the same basic premise exists, but things just evolve, right? Now,
Yep.
sooner or later, it's been discussed for years. We are going to get to bring your own device.
Hmm.
They're already doing that on the outside. So at what point do our servers and people start bringing their own device?
Hmm.
And then the next step after that is the customers just decide they're just going to do it on their own, which, they do sometimes anyway. But, so we'll continue to evolve in that. So, okay. So you're putting out handhelds. Are there any other key initiatives that you're looking towards
Yeah,
next year?
yeah, certainly. Trying to figure out like ways to use AI to give us more informed information. Like, for instance, like when there is like an event that's taking place, right? How do you actually staff for that? Like, for instance, if you have Taylor Swift or fiance coming in town. How do you actually get that information ahead of time so you can actually have the right people in place, to continue to deliver, on your
Right.
business model.
Well, that's true. So, look, it is coming into the holiday season, so people start thinking about those gifts and stuff. So, is there some tech gift that's coming out next year that I should be like, or it's coming out now that I should like go to the store and buy you for the holidays?
Well, I mean, sure enough, you always have that augmented reality, right? You have AR out there, but to me, I believe anything that's like tech, um, anything that's like a tech solution that will simplify, someone's life. I think it's a good gift.
Yeah, but how about
That's to
having
me.
fun? How about
Well,
tech for fun?
tech for fun, that's great. That's a good
So, is
thing.
there something that
Like my
on your
Go ahead.
list? Is there something on your list? I'm going to see you maybe on Monday, so you got to tell
Well,
me what I'm bringing for you, right?
for me, anything coming from you, Rob, is appreciated. Really, I honestly believe that because for you, you've been in the space. It could be someone, some design where it makes reference to anything for the restaurant, right?
Mhm.
That to me, it would be an awesome gift for me. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Boy, that's like all business here. I've got to get out. We should go out to CES together and go take a look at that. Have you ever been there?
I have not been to
Okay,
CES.
now that's what you need to do.
Okay.
And I'm debating because I missed last year. I want to go this year, and it sort of sets the tone. But I do it personally and I do it professionally. Personally,
Hmm.
because there's a lot of gadgets and toys. That's great. But professionally, because I've always believed that some of these things that come out, consumer technologies, are ones that we can use and adapt. And saves us a lot of money and time if you can just go buy it. At a store, the price comes down, makes it easier to do. Right.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, and like anything else, right? When you're talking about the price comes down because it's so new, right? It's supply and demand, right? It always gets back to that. So yeah.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to doing like the tech burger and the wings and the sauce. I'll have to go figure that one out. But listen, it's been great having you on, and I hope to see you in person soon. You never know; could be next week, or it'll be a chapter meeting, or it'll be one of the industry events next year. But we certainly appreciate what you're doing both for the industry, for Duffy's, but also representing the IFBTA in Central Florida. So we really appreciate that.
And I must say, we appreciate what you're doing as well, right? Because the program that you have out there, this program itself, bringing people that's in the industry together, vendors, um, instructors, everyone communicating on the same topic, sharing their experience. It has been beautiful. And it's a great atmosphere to also learn, right? Because certain times you hear things that people are doing and you're like, wow, how can I actually, leverage that in my environment? So you come away with a lot when
Well, it's
you
good.
with
It's
that
good to get out
program.
in the industry and do a mix of, the conferences and the trade shows and things. But at the same time, that one-on-one time with people. And also, when you're at a trade show or a conference and you have the suppliers who are in a selling mode,
Hmm.
but when they're at, the meetings, I've just found it's conversational mode, and people are actually sharing ideas. And I bet I've learned a lot from both sides, and just getting to talk to people like you and the other people that are there. So we appreciate the fact that you've taken up the mantle and helped to bring that forward. So
Well, thank you. It's definitely an honor. I appreciate it. And, thanks for having, you know, Duffy's on your program. We appreciate that
no,
as
we have
well.
you on the program. Duffy's came with you,
Well,
to be very clear about this. Okay. And you can, but in reality, it's really more about a conversation with industry leaders, and Duffy's is very happy, and lucky to have you there, as is the IFBTA. So I'm with Dwight Rowe, who is, as he just said, the vice president of technology at Duffy Sports Grill.
there
And
you go.
there you go, I got it right. And It's just been one of those end-of-year conversations, looking forward, looking backward a little bit, and just talking about what's out there. So thank you very much for joining us on TechBytes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Rob. Have a great day. Thank you.
Great, you too. This podcast is brought to you by the International Food and Beverage Technology Association. The IFBTA is the industry's voice of food service, hospitality, and retail technology, providing thought leadership as your single, impartial, and go-to resource. The IFBTA offers in-person and online communities to connect with your peers, the exchange, an all-encompassing global technology resource, and an industry-wide professional education and certification program. The bottom line is the IFBTA is your place to gather, learn, and share in conversations like the one we're having today. Thank you for joining us on this episode of TechBytes, powered by the IFBTA. I'm Rob Grimes, your host, and I look forward to taking our next bite of technology together.